Welcome to the HEARTS Entwined podcast. In this podcast, we'll be having discussions around the secrets which attract lasting, healthy, fulfilling relationships, creating a healthy mindset, and what women should know and understand about men. Introducing your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts, relationship expert, trainer, speaker, and best-selling author of the Cupid's Bow technique. Lyn's mission is to have a positive impact in reducing divorce, domestic violence, and suicide.
Welcome to the HEARTS Entwined podcast. This is your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts. And today, listeners, I'm excited to say that I've got a very exciting guest. Her name is Caroline Ackroyd. She's a hypnotherapist and love coach. And we're going to be talking today about a very important topic. What are your love blocks? So welcome, Caroline.
Thank you, Lyn. Thank you for having me here.
My pleasure. And now, Caroline, you do a lot of single to soulmate work, and a lot of the work involves talking to your audience and talking to your clients around love blocks. So what do you actually mean by love blocks for a kick-off question?
Sure, Lyn. That's a great question. So love blocks are subconscious blocks that actually prevent love from manifesting in our lives. So on a conscious level, we might be thinking, oh, I want to meet my soulmate. I want to experience true love. I want, to be kissing him at sunset. And you want all of that and you long for it. But underneath the surface, in your subconscious, there are so many blocks that you have built up over a lifetime that will actually prevent that from happening. What do I mean? So if you're thinking, I want to meet my soulmate, but you harbor that fear that men cheat, that love always leaves, that you will experience heartbreak, all of those feelings, those thoughts, those beliefs go in opposition to that idea of love. And so they cancel each other out. So people want love, but they actually need to work through a lot of the blocks to love.
And how do you discover, what blocks are there for people? Is it purely by having, deep conversations and asking the right questions that this comes up, and they weren't probably aware of what those blocks were?
Excellent, Lyn. So I always start out with going back into childhood. So there is the deeper work involved of looking at the childhood story, what happened there, because our deepest fears are coming from there, from trauma. And what I mean by trauma, it can be significant events like being abandoned, father leaving, father finding someone else and divorcing and leaving. But so that becomes a story, right? Men leave because my father left. But the trauma being, what do I now believe about myself in response to that event of my father leaving? Well, now I believe I'm not enough. I believe that I don't matter. I believe that a man will find someone better than me and leave. And so we have to go back and untangle all of that, find those deeper stories, heal that part within, right? No, we are lovable, to believe again that you're lovable, that you're worthy of love, and that your father leaving had nothing to do with you. That was his story. And so restoring the lovability, the worthiness, so that you can feel worthy of love. So it begins there, going into childhood and healing those inner wounds and those stories. And then looking at your life experience, because from then you have been living with that programming, right? Of I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, and that story. I'm giving an example here. There are so many, but just for the narrative purposes, love leaves and I get I get traded, let's say, because I'm not important, very often that's what's going to happen, right? That's your love template, your love blueprint, and that's the programming. So you're going to manifest that in your life. And now you've already experienced relationships that have confirmed that at some level. So we start with that, undoing that, so that we have a fresh template to begin manifesting that soulmate. So that soulmate wants to love you completely, but you need to feel worthy of that love or you will reject it.
Yeah,
Your
I can do
soulmate
this.
could be right in front of you, ready to
Yes.
give you his heart, but if you don't feel worthy of the love and enough to be loved, you will sabotage it somehow. You won't even see it. You will maybe even think, why does he like me? There's something wrong there. You might even go against it in that way because your heart isn't open. You're not open to receiving that love. So you have to heal these wounds first.
Absolutely. And I think it's quite common, that we don't even know what we don't know until we do work with somebody like yourself and uncover actually, oh my God, this is what exactly has unfolded in my intimate relationships.
Yes, exactly. And then after working on that deeper parts, those deeper levels, to welcome in love, to become more aligned with the conscious desire of I want to meet my soulmate and experience love, we also look at all the cultural beliefs. Working with clients, I say, what did you hear growing up in your home? What did your family say, your mom say? What did your friends say? What did you hear around you? Oh, men cheat. Um, Men will leave if you gain weight. All of these kinds of beliefs, which then need to be reversed. They need to be, yeah, there needs to be another turn. They need to be turned around, reframed, because that is a love block too. How can you believe that belief of men cheat and believe that your soulmate is going to be faithful and love you forever?
Exactly. Yeah, because subconsciously we're going to create an environment where that ultimately probably does happen to us, aren't we? Because and we're not even realizing that we're contributing to creating that because we have that belief.
Exactly, exactly. So everything from your personal stories to the cultural stories around you, and every culture has different stories around men and women and love. So those have to be looked at. And before we can start the process of actually manifesting the soulmate. First, we need to clear the path to love, and then we begin the process of calling love in.
I love it. So, what are the most common when you think about what might resonate with the audience at the moment that they might think, oh, actually, I've been doing that? What have you found are the most common blocks before we get into how we can call in our soulmate?
Absolutely. So the five most common blocks are: one, I'm unlovable, I'm not enough, I'm unworthy. That is the absolute most common love block. You cannot receive love if you don't feel worthy of it. And feeling that you're enough is going to be the foundation to attracting that love, right? Because you feel, I am so lovable, I'm in love with myself, creating that field and that from that belief, that is the number one love block. I'm not lovable. Number two, I'm afraid of getting hurt, of getting heartbroken. That is a huge block to love. And it has also been reinforced through experience. But you just have to come to terms that, yeah, that is a risk I face, but I also risk never finding and experiencing that love if I don't get over this hurdle. Another one is that love leaves, it ends. And that has also been reinforced usually through your experience. Um, all the good men are taken. That is a huge limiting belief and a love block, because your beloved could be waiting for you, but you're holding that belief, which is scarcity, right? You're not aligning with the abundance that is there for you. And the other one right now is escaping me, but it's along those lines. Those are the most common ones. Oh, I know. I'm afraid of being vulnerable. Yes, that's the fifth one. I'm afraid of being vulnerable and therefore remaining guarded, remaining closed. And love requires a deep, beautiful, intimate relationship is going to require you to be vulnerable, to talk about your feelings, to be authentic, to show who you truly are. And being vulnerable, like I'm afraid that I'm not enough and lovable. So going back to the number one, if you feel lovable, if you feel worthy, you've accepted yourself, you've done that inner work. I'm not perfect, but I'm lovable just as I am. I'm not going to reject myself. And if I don't reject myself, nobody can reject me. And so I can be vulnerable. I can show up as myself, being who I am. And because I can totally back myself that way, I can love myself, be there for myself, accept myself. Another person can too. I can now be vulnerable, and from there create this safe space where no one has to be perfect. We can be ourselves to then create a beautiful, intimate, and passionate relationship. And this tip for the ladies, you are the one who secretly leads with your emotions. Don't wait for a guy to give you the reassurance that deep inside we want, right? We want to feel, he likes me, before I show up as myself, before I let show him about my feelings. And I don't mean spilling your guts and, telling him you love him on the first date. It's not about that. But being vulnerable in the small ways, he texts, you text back, oh, receiving your text has put a smile on my face. You have really made my day. That's what I mean about at least initial being vulnerable from the start. And that requires so much inner acceptance of yourself as you are to show up that way. But women lead from the start with that vulnerability, with showing emotions. And that's how you engage your man, engage men emotionally, who then seek further connection and keep coming back for more dates. But we went off on a tangent there, but that all of it comes back to each other, feeling lovable, to then be vulnerable, to build connection, and just dissolving these love blocks to then call in your soulmate. Clear the path to love.
Absolutely. And I think that sometimes, especially, these days, women are working quite often. Sometimes they can be the main breadwinner in a relationship, and quite often they think that vulnerability is a weakness, but it's not, is it? You do have to obviously have strength in knowing and wanting to control, if you like, in an organization or in your own entrepreneurial business or whatever that is. But you can still be vulnerable outside of that, your career or your business, can't you?
Absolutely, Lynn. And vulnerability, that the word can really put a woman off, I think, because it feels like removing any kind of protection, and you feel very then open, right? Vulnerable for kind of wounding. And as you said, going out there, being the breadwinner, you have to get into that masculine energy, right? Which is not the energy, the feminine energy of vulnerability. So vulnerability is just being able to take that risk to open yourself up. So vulnerability is opening yourself up, which is a feminine energy. And that is in opposition to going out there, making things happen and being in masculine. But vulnerability is really at the core learning to receive, and you need to open yourself up to be able to receive. And so rather than thinking of vulnerability as a weakness and where you make yourself really open to getting hurt, you can think of vulnerability as I am allowing myself to open up to receive love, for example. I'm opening myself up to be treated well. I'm opening myself up to being loved for who I am. And as I said, if you really feel like you are lovable and you accept yourself and you don't reject yourself, then really nobody can truly wound you. You know, you can be vulnerable, and if you don't reject yourself, you're going to be okay.
Absolutely. I think it's about, said this a few times on previous episodes, being aware that you can view the term rejection in a different way. In other words, if you do go out on a date or two with a guy and it doesn't work out and he's the one that ends it, not to perceive that as rejection, but to see that as a protection in some ways, that he's allowing you now to be free to meet the one who is the right man for you.
Exactly. It's a rejection is a divine protection, right? Just leading you to the one, to your soulmate.
And I think you can just see it as a bit of a test as to see where you are on your personal growth journey, in how you respond in that situation. Do you perceive the rejection as, oh my God, I'm not lovable after all, and go in a pity party of woe is me? Or do you think, all right, okay, that didn't work out. That stung a bit, but time to move on. He obviously wasn't the one. I'm now free to meet the one that is.
Yes, that's it. That's it. And then you're ready to manifest your soulmate.
Absolutely. So in terms of once you've got and you've worked on the love blocks and got those removed, what about the other side of the coin of calling in your soulmate? What does that involve?
Okay. So number one, getting clear on who that person is. What does your heart truly desire? Usually we're not aware. We don't know what we truly want. We've never actually allowed ourselves to even admit or think, what do I want? And allow ourselves to aim higher, to raise the bar, and to truly even believe that someone can love us fully, and who was that person that would really make our heart sing? What would they be like? And so that is absolutely the first part, getting really clear on who that person is. What does your heart desire without holding back, allowing yourself to truly feel into that?
And not necessarily the superficial stuff, like he has to be over 6'4" and earning at least 100 grand a year.
It can range from that all the way to how do you feel together? And I think that's probably the most important thing, is to concentrate on how do you want to feel with your beloved? And then yeah, thinking what really makes my heart sing? Like with my soulmate, like when I did this for myself, I do like tall men, tall, slim, lean men. And so I wrote that down. I wanted him to be 1.86 m, which is like 6'1", and slim, and preferably have blue eyes and speak English. I live in Brazil, but I wanted him to speak English because that's my native language. I grew up speaking that. All of my education was in English. My father was English. I spoke English at home. So that was on my wish list. And so that's what I mean. Dare to ask the universe for what you truly want. And I got that, Lyn. I have my gorgeous 1.86 man with blue eyes. He is American. He speaks English. So I got what I asked for. But I also concentrate on how I wanted to feel. And I do feel with him exactly how I imagined it.
That's brilliant because I mean sometimes we can get too, I suppose, focused on the physical attributes, but not actually tap into how we'd want to feel. So in other words, we might attract to that, physically, okay, he ticks all the boxes, but he might treat you really awfully type person,
Yes,
can't we?
yes, it's not just a superficial. You have to become a match for a vibrational match for the experience that you want. So when we work together and we're manifesting, we're getting you to feel that way, to already feel like you have already met him and you're already living the dream, so that then you magnetize that experience to you. You literally call it in, attract it in because you're already feeling that way.
100% agree. So, in terms of other aspects of calling your soulmate in, is there anything else that we need to do?
No, I would say being very clear, having faith and letting it go. So believe with all your heart and do that inner work first of unblocking, clearing the path to love, getting clear on who you want, who you desire, your heart's desire, calling him in and letting it go, truly believing, having faith and trust that that person is there and that you are aligning. So letting go of that control, because our human mind it can be very limiting. And sometimes, the universe wants to offer us so much more than we can actually imagine for ourselves, than we're actually have the courage to ask. And so don't cap it. Put your desires out there, speak them truthfully, and then let go. The universe will deliver. You will attract that person, but let it go. Don't try and control it. Just have
Yeah,
faith.
yeah. It's letting go of the who, the why, the where, and the when, isn't it? And not getting so caught up in focusing on those things, but just literally, like you say, put it out there and then just trust it's on its way.
Yes, let go of the how. The how is not up to you. The how is where the magic and the miracle happens. That's how I met my soulmate at a bar that I had gone. My friend had taken me out to a birthday drink 10 days after my birthday. And I don't go to bars. He was newly single, like literally 24 hours. He had uh, divorced. And so there we were, two people that never go to a bar. It was his second outing, and we met. So it was alignment, So the how, once you've done that work, you've unblocked, you've manifested him, you've aligned yourself to love, it can come in quickly and it will find a way. I have clients who have met in the supermarket talking about laundry, laundry detergent, and be like, oh, it's so wonderful to meet you. What in exchanging Facebook profile contacts and becoming friends on social media, and that's it. And the rest is history. So once you do all of that, you let go of the how and let the magic happen.
Love it. So, for the benefit of our listeners, Caroline, for those that would love to connect with you, what's your best form of contact information?
So on Facebook, I am there as Caroline Ackroyd. And on Instagram, I'm Hypno Love Coach.
Excellent. Any final words around this topic of letting your love blocks get released and working on actually attracting your soulmate that you'd like to leave our audience with?
I would say that if you have that desire in your heart to meet that special someone like I did, it is a sign that that is there for you. That desire in your heart is the indication that that person is there for you. So do the inner work necessary to become a match for that, to call that in. Don't give up. I think we were made to love. There's nothing more beautiful than two people having that experience, feeling love, being connected. I'm so glad that I kept on going, Lyn. I had been married. I had gone through 3 marriages, 3 divorces,
Wow.
and yes, including a toxic marriage. And through all of that, I never gave up. Like, I always thought there's this longing in my heart for a certain person, and I want to be happy. I want to experience this love. And I kept on going, and I found him. And it's everything and so much more than I ever had wished for and dreamed of. So, for those listeners, if you feel that call of, I want to meet my soulmate, it's because he's there. Just keep on going.
Thank you for that. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Well, it's been a fantastic conversation, Caroline. I've really enjoyed you having your company and talking about this topic of what are your love blocks and how to call in your soulmate. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Lyn. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for letting me have the opportunity to be here.
So, listeners, it's just leave me to say that true love starts with opening our hearts, and goodbye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Hearts Entwined podcast. You can follow Lyn via the Facebook group 2 Hearts Entwined, or search Lyn Smith, inspirational speaker, at LinkedIn, or email lyn@hearts-entwined.com. That's LYN@hearts-entwined.com. Remember, true love starts with opening our hearts.